essentials like clothing and food, but not having enough money to buy good quality clothes or good quality food.
So poverty for me is lack of equality, and there are different degrees of poverty. For example, in a more developed country, poverty would mean a middle standard for someone in a less developed country. And poverty is a great problem, and it's a problem that affects Nicaragua, and we should fight to stop poverty.
For me, poverty is when people do not have enough money to pay for the basic necessities in life, such as shelter, food, or clothing.
I believe that poverty is the lack of money or possessions that people have. In this country, we have a lot of poverty. We are one of the most underdeveloped countries in the world, and it's horrible. You see the children in the street asking for money, and I believe that education can solve this.
For me, poverty is the state of an individual who lacks the financial and economic resources to acquire these things that are essential for human well-being. For example, lack of resources to buy food, to have water, sanitation, education, and even access to social services.
So poverty to me is people who live beneath the normal pay. Poverty isn't the people who work for us, but rather the people who have no job. Often, I believe personally, poverty is either because they themselves don't want to work, or because they have had something happen that they can't work. For example, veterans, I don't believe they should have to live under poverty, but they can't work because of a physical injury. But those who live on the street, for example here, who beg at the stop signs, I don't believe that they have to live in poverty. Like, they could go to school, there are public schools here, but they choose to do it. I don't believe poverty is a necessity in every country. Like, if you work hard enough, you can get out. There have been a lot of times where people have gone out of poverty.
What is poverty? I suppose that in my mind, poverty would be, poverty is comparative, right? It's about being at the very bottom of a social or economic system and operating with an amount of money, an amount of knowledge, or an amount of opportunity that isn't sustainable, right? That getting from one week to the next or from one day to the next is such an arduous uphill climb that you can never get ahead, and that you are transacting in a system that's stacked against you. So I think that the people that are sort of at this line and below, I would regard as impoverished. And I think that it can be economic, of course, but also social.
For me, poverty is the cause of lack of education, and the only way for Nicaragua to be a more advanced country would be with a better educational system.
Yeah, it's true. Nicaragua has people in Nicaragua, well, most people in Nicaragua don't have a good education because the government doesn't provide it, and let's say the public schools don't offer education of quality, so people go to school and they don't actually study, they just go there, and teachers are corrupt, so no moral values are transmitted to new generations in Nicaragua. Thank you.
I think the person who has said the most truthful thing about poverty was Mother Teresa, who said the worst type of poverty is to believe you're unworthy of love.
Poverty, I feel, is when you don't have access to the basic things that you need. You don't have access to clean water, you don't have nutritional food, you don't have access to good education, a house, basic sanitary conditions, And then also being able to have like a reasonable life, like time for your family. So when you're in poverty, you're forced to work jobs where you don't get to rest. You're overworked because you're in a desperate situation. And so poverty is, it also has to do with your lifestyle. Someone should have access to free time with their family, free time to sit and read, free time to learn how to paint, like leisure time. You should have some leisure time.
Poverty is lack of sense of self-improvement.
Well, poverty. I think that poverty is the lack of wealth. The inability to go home and relax, watch TV, change channel, have a plate of food ready, and don't worry about the next day. Yes, live simple, but fine. I mean, I don't know, you go to the streets and you see poverty anywhere in Nicaragua. You see the kids in the stoplights juggling for a penny or two, and when they don't have the security we feel, you know that after school you go home, you have your plate of food, and you're gonna be able to do whatever you want. But for them, it's not like that.
So poverty, it's not having the opportunity to study, and so instead of studying, you have to go to work, and also it's not having enough food, or sharing with your little brothers, or it's also the lack of education,
and poverty is
like not having enough to fulfill our needs and
to survive or live.
Well, poverty, for me, apart from the classic economic definitions, is the dissatisfaction produced by a lack of material possessions. And I've learned that from my experiences here, because you can look in a family that lives in a plastic house and see that they're just as happy as a family that lives somewhere like here. And it is not because they have more or less, but it's the perception and it's the attitude. Or in other words, it's not the material possessions that determine the worth or the quality of our lifestyle, it's how much worth we inject into what's around us.
la empresa?
Sí.
4.000 cortos.
4.000 cortos.
Pues no.
No,
¿Cómo para comer? ¿Nos podemos mantener con eso?
no, es que como...
No, es que solamente un tiempo, por ejemplo, es por... Trabajamos 8 horas.
8 horas.
Sí. Entonces, por ejemplo, nosotros acabamos de venir a las 2, cenamos hasta las 5. A las 6, pues. No tenemos 3 veces, pues, tiempo. No trabajamos todo el día.
¿Como cuántos?
Tengo 4 niños.
4 niños. Mantenerlos.
No me ajusta. No, gracias a Dios no he tenido ningún accidente.
Sí,
tenemos hospital, somos asegurados.
Ok.
Sí.
Yo quiero decir mi nombre.
Ok, decir tu nombre, pero no va a salir en el video. O va, pues si quieres puedes ser el primero del video y sales.
Hello, my name. ¿Ya está grabando? Okay, I believe. Miss, I'm so handsome that they're taking pictures of me. Don't worry about it. Okay, empecé a grabar de vuelta.
Ni hao. En chino que tengo que hablar.
No, en inglés.
Ah, in English. Yeah, I don't speak English. No, I'm just kidding, Miss Erika. Okay. ¿Para quién es?
Para la Miss López.
Pensé que era para la Miss Erika.
No.
Pero va a empezar, pero
Dale, no, lo cortamos. Lo corto.
Dale.